Welcome. It's TV Toastmasters, December 21st, 2013, and I'm the president of TV Toastmasters, Rick Davis. Yay! Come on, guys. We've got to have a little energy here. It's raining outside. It's gloomy, but it's going to get better. That's what Sheila says anyway. So, welcome to our newest member, Tom Meyers, who joined today. Yay! I'm supposed to remind everyone about the upcoming International Speech Contest on February 15th. If you've given 6 speeches, you're eligible to be in the contest. So let's all think in those terms so we can go to Malaysia in August, right? That sounds like a wonderful trip. I'd like to introduce our Toastmaster for today. He's a long-term Toastmaster and a charter member of TV Toastmasters, Steve Ahrenholz, DTM. Steve.
Thank you, Mr. President. Welcome all of our guests here in the studio today. Our members are here. I don't think we have any guests this morning, other than we have our 2 camera folks here that are helping us out today. As Rick mentioned, it is a soggy Saturday morning here. I had the thought when I was driving over here that it certainly is a gray day today, and we haven't even seen the most of the rain. That's supposed to come later today, the 2 to 3 inches. So everyone, keep your spirits up. It's supposed to be a more uplifting time of the year, but that doesn't always work out that way. Our audience will be seeing this program in January, so even though we're still waiting for Christmas, by the time you see this, we can welcome everyone with Happy New Year. We're in 2014. What I'd like to do at this point is get our meeting going, and the first thing that we're going to have is our word of the day. It will be presented by Veronica Sanford. Veronica is an Advanced Communicator Silver and an Advanced Leader Bronze. She will be giving us the word for the day. In addition to that, she is going to be listening to hear how many of us are able to use the word of the day in our speaking. She will also be filling a role as grammarian and counter. So if we have any faux pas as far as our speaking goes, if I use too many so's or string my sentences together with ands, we will hear about it. Help me welcome Veronica Sanford for Word Power.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Our word for today is precognition. The supposed perception of an event, condition, etc., before it occurs, especially by extrasensory powers. Now, I will leave the word up here on the lectern in case anyone would like to have that extra hint. I will be counting the number of times people use it in their speeches, and then for the audience and for all of you, you can now see the word of the day. Mr. Toastmaster?
Thank you, Veronica. Precognition. I wonder if that's similar to having a feeling of dread. Now, what we're going to start with is our table topics portion of the meeting. Table topics is that part of the meeting where we work on our impromptu speaking skills. These are probably skills that we use more than a lot of the other things that we work on, because this is where we will have to respond to a question that's posed to us. And the amount of time that people will have to prepare for their presentation is the amount of time that it takes them to come up here to the lectern. Our table topics master this morning is Sheila Baker, Distinguished Toastmaster. She will be calling on people with a question that she has. The way it's done is she will present a question or a topic that she would like someone to speak on. She will call on that person. They will have the time it takes them to get up here to put their speech together. We'll see what kind of topics Sheila has for us today. Help me welcome Sheila Baker.
Thank you. I did not have a precognition of this meeting or this day. So what I did do was read a book. I read Annie, which is spelled as Anne, A-N-N-E, Lamott, L-A-M-O-T-T, Annie Lamott's book, Help, Thanks, Wow. So that is our theme for the day. Help, thanks, wow. For the theme for table topics. The first question is, when have you been in a position where you had to ask for help because you gave up, there was no hope of you ever making it through by yourself? Patty?
I'm a hairdresser of 30 years. About 6 years ago, I was asked to take a test for color certification. And my preconceived notion about myself is I'm stupid. So this guy that I worked for really pushed to take this color certification test. And it took a whole year to study for it. And he didn't help out. So I kept going with this mentality, I'm too stupid, I can't do it. Too stupid, I can't do it. So you have to go to New York City and take the test after studying for an entire year. And I did it. And I got the results back, and I was 4 points away. And that reconfirmed that I was stupid. So my girlfriend at the time lived in China, and she has always been my biggest cheerleader ever since I've known her in 16 years. And from China, she gave one little sentence that made me so mad inside that I thought, take on you, I'm going to do it again. So you could, ooh, sorry. So I went to Indianapolis. Through Indianapolis, I had to go to Chicago to retake the test. And just north of Indianapolis, I was caught in this massive rainstorm, almost like today. It was just absolutely pouring down rain. Middle of the day, it was so dark, and my GPS told me to get off. And it kept saying, I-65, I-65, get off, get off. So I get off, and I'm in the middle of this cornfield. And I could not get out of this cornfield. And finally, I just sat there, and I said to myself, I'm a God believer, so I said, God, I guess I'm stuck here for a reason. And in that glimpse of time, there was, the sun came out right on my left shoulder, and two doves ended up on my windshield. And I had such peace over it. So I go to Chicago, I get back on the freeway. My GPS started working. And I took the test the next day. There was nowhere to sit except the back of the room where the sun was hitting the side of my shoulder. And I just thought to myself, today's the day. So what it did was it enhanced my belief about myself. And when we live with peace, thanks, and wow, it really can change you. So then I got the results back shortly, 6 weeks later. And I remember looking in the mailbox, and it was a big certificate then. And I opened my mailbox and opened the certificate, and I just screamed so loud, I am smart. For the first time in my entire life, I just thought, oh my God, I'm smart. So that's that.
Thank you.
So,
I'm tired. That was the quite intelligent Patty. The second is thanks. Many of us have things that we receive in our lifetime. We receive from our parents, we receive from strangers, we receive opportunities like Patty did, being stuck in a cornfield, though we don't always realize it's a an opportunity. We receive opportunities or circumstances where we just want to say, thank you, thank you, thank you. So tell me about a situation where you felt like someone or something deserved big fat thanks. Rick.
Well, thank you, Madam Toastmaster, Tabletopics Master. I think that we don't say thanks enough, and it's easy to thank people for the big things, the things that happen to you on a less common basis. For example, when Steve was talking about defending your dissertation earlier, I've been a couple times to see my now retired dissertation advisor. I have to drive way out in the boonies to see him, about 100 miles from our house in Seattle. So I always like to thank that kind of folk, but just on a regular basis, on a daily basis, there's always somebody that's coming in and helping, and especially in Toastmasters, when things are kind of falling apart just before the meeting starts, and somebody steps in like Veronica, who will go and take like six different roles at the meeting or something. I have to say thanks, thanks for doing that. At work, people will gladly pick up and help you get things accomplished if you're thankful to them and tell them thanks. And it's really not a big deal. It's just a matter of remembering to do it. If you fail to do it on a regular basis, pretty soon people wonder, what's that person thinking? Why aren't they thankful for this? Or well, I'm not going to help again. So, yeah, I think thanking people is a great thing, and everyone should do it on a regular basis. Madam Tabletopics Master.
Thank you, Rick Davis. The third is wow. Wow. At least once in our lifetimes, we have a wow moment. It might be the birth of a child where you said, that's mine? Wow! Or something fabulous happens. Maybe someone else would go, oh, it's no big deal. But to you, it's a wonderful thing. Something in your life is so important that you just go, wow. And it may be just a minute's worth of wow, or a lifetime's worth of wow, or something that nobody else thinks is great, or something that everybody thinks is wonderful. It makes no difference. Carol Cormeling, tell us about your wow.
Thank you, Madam Topics Master, fellow Toastmasters, and our audience at home. My wow is every day. Every day God shows me something, and I'm just really thrilled with this. I have no precognition of what's going to happen that day, but thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. There are so many small little things maybe that happened years ago that I didn't know prepared me for this day. And this past week I've had a back injury and didn't know what it was, and I just didn't get relief because usually I pray and it's touched. And I prayed, and yesterday 2 people prayed with me when I had told them about my back. And I didn't know if I had fractured a rib or something because I just couldn't get relief from the pain. I went to urgent care, and the woman said, you have a spasm, a muscle spasm. You feel that? And she worked a little bit and made it feel much better. And then she said if I rolled on a tennis ball, had pressure on that to relieve that spasm. And so I've been doing that, and now I can move. Instead of having a knife pain of a 10, it's only about a 3. It's not totally healed, but I know that I will be touched and it will be totally healed. And for that is a wow. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
My grandniece Lila loves to say, wow, wow, wow. And that's everything, every day in life. And I think, what a wonderful view of life. Everything is so exciting. So, Mr. Toastmaster, let's have a little more excitement right now.
Thank you, Sheila.
Name an effective political leader in history who couldn't speak well. There aren't any.
Because when it comes to a disease,
Freedom requires leadership, and leadership requires oratory. You have to speak to be heard. I have a dream. It's all about personal growth and guts.
Never give in. Never, never, never.
We have 3 speakers today. I think that's a real plus, and we thank them all for speaking and sharing their work with us today. Our first speaker that we're going to hear from is one of our new members in the club. She's going to be doing the icebreaker. And what an icebreaker is it's the first speech. It's usually the first speech that a Toastmaster does when they join Toastmasters. It's an opportunity for them to start getting up in front of a group of people and speaking. The subject that they generally speak on is a topic that they know more about than anyone else. They basically introduce themselves to the club, so they're talking about some aspect of their life or their personality or what they do. I find them really neat because you get to learn a little bit more about the person that is in Toastmasters, and sometimes we even hear a little bit about why they came to Toastmasters. This speech is 4 to 6 minutes, and it will be evaluated along with the other speeches that we will hear today. Our speaker is Susan Russell. The speech title is Finding My Voice, and I have a little bit of introductory material for it. Susan notes that her life is a journey of overcoming introversion. She thanks us for being a part of this adventure. She notes she was a member of Toastmasters in Medina, Ohio, to face the prospect of defending an undergraduate thesis. And we talked a little bit about this before we started our meeting today, some of the anxiety that we sometimes build up in our own minds. She notes that she's back to conquer more fears and to continue to give voice to ideas and dreams. Help me welcome Susan Russell, and her speech is entitled Finding My Voice. Susan?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and welcome guests, and also people viewing from the audience in January. I have to admit that coming up here, the old heart rate started to elevate as soon as you were getting ready to prepare to introduce me. And if anybody would have asked me whether I had any idea that I might speak voluntarily when I was younger, I would have said I had no precognition of that. There was a time in high school when I would choose to take an F on a book report rather than get up in front of my class. So it's been a journey, but I'm looking forward to being more comfortable up here. I was the second child of my parents and had an older brother and 3 younger sisters. And we lived in Strongsville, Ohio, and then moved to Medina. And I really enjoyed that community and lived there for quite a few years. I ended up becoming, I worked in accounts payable for a lot of years, and then while I was doing that, I was also attending college. I finished an associate degree and a bachelor's degree in psychology. And if any of you know about the field of psychology, there's not a lot you can do with a bachelor's in psychology. So after a number of years, I decided I really wanted to try doing something where I was working with people rather than working with numbers, even though I enjoy that profession as well. There was an ad in the paper for a probation officer, and lo and behold, one of the degrees that they did accept was a bachelor's in psychology. This was with our Common Pleas Court in Medina County, and I thought, well, I need a couple of references, so I asked a few friends that I'd worked with for references, one of whom was the chief probation officer with Medina Municipal Court. She said she'd be glad to do that. She said, if we have an opening here, would you be interested in entertaining that option as well? And I said, absolutely. Well, I was never called for an interview with Medina Common Pleas Court, but I was with Medina Municipal Court. And my supervisor from the finance department actually allowed me to try out the position because he knew I was a little bit nervous about change. And he allowed me to try that out for a number of months, and I gradually made the big move across the street to work for Medina Municipal Court. I loved probation, and I noticed that a lot of the people that I had on my caseload or that I interviewed had problems with substance abuse as well as mental health problems. So I started training. Just, as it turned out, University of Akron opened up their program for part-time social work degree. So I started their social work program and at the same time became licensed in chemical dependency counseling. And I really, really loved it. But during this time frame, I had also had a daughter while I was going to college. Well, I don't remember what happened first, but at any rate, I had a daughter. She got married and decided to move away to Findlay, which I made the mistake initially of thinking it was near Findlay State Park, but it was actually Findlay, Ohio. So she had a child, and I just wanted to be so much closer to my granddaughter. So even though I was one who didn't take many risks, I mean, it was a big step for me to move across the street to Medina Municipal Court from the City of Medina Finance Department. I saw an ad in the paper for a probation officer with Toledo Municipal Court, and I applied and was accepted for 3 openings from a pool of 229 applicants. It was a big step for me, but the love I had for my granddaughter made that possible. So while I was working in probation, I also had started learning a skill called motivational interviewing. I ended up attending a specialized training in that field with William Miller, one of the producers or one of the developers of motivational interviewing in Ohio. And once I learned it, the whole purpose of the training was to do trainings for other people. So I thought, well, I've got to bite the bullet. And I did end up presenting for NASW Ohio that year. Didn't feel comfortable at all. In fact, I had a few panicked moments when I walked into the presentation room. But I kept going with it and eventually started training my fellow coworkers. And I also presented again for NASW in November of this year. It felt a lot more comfortable this time around, even with a few technical difficulties. Well, this journey has taken me quite a distance. While I was at the NASW conference in Columbus, I ran into one of my former professors from the University of Akron. He had no idea I was living in Cincinnati, and he emailed me and said, "I'd really love for you to teach for us next semester." And I said, I would really love to do that. I may need to tweak my workload and try to find a different, change my days of work so that I can be there because it's commuting to Akron. But I received permission to do that, and next semester I will be teaching at the University of Akron, a course on group and family counseling, which is one of my passions. So I've learned over the years, through the experiences that I've had, that communication is one of the most important things we do as humans. And I really am very grateful to the lessons in life that have helped me become a better communicator, and also to Toastmasters for making the knocking in my knees stop long enough to get up here and share my journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Is NASW the National Association of Social Workers?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Working for the federal government, we have acronyms galore, and one of the things that we're reminded of is to spell out the acronyms because not everyone is necessarily familiar with what it is. I've found the real challenge is when you have 2 different government agencies that both have the same acronym and it stands for different things. Then you have to ask, what? Now, are you talking about this acronym or this one? But thank you for that great icebreaker speech. At this point, we're going to take a minute of silence for Susan's evaluator to complete her evaluation form. We'll be back in a minute.
Thank you very much. And now for our next speaker, Stanley Glitchner.
Speaking in public doesn't have to be a death sentence. At Toastmasters, we can help you overcome your fears.
Welcome back. We are going to hear from our second speaker that we have in our schedule today. He is going to be doing a speech from the Competent Communication Manual. Actually, he's going to be doing the 9th speech in that manual, which addresses persuasion with power. It's a 5 to 7 minute speech. Tom is one of our newest members. In fact, I think he's new as of today. So I want to welcome him as our newest member as well. His speech in the introductory materials, he has that this is a call for help, and any help that we might be able to offer to turn this idea for a fundraising charity into reality would be appreciated. It ties in with our Tabletopics that we had today too. The title of Tom Meyers' speech is Charity Pie, Helping Individuals Change the World. Help me welcome Tom Meyers. Tom?
Well, as Steve alluded to, my speech today is really a call for help. It's a call for help to turn my idea for a charity to help all charities into reality. Right now, it's just an idea in my head, and what I'm trying to do is talk to as many people as I can and really try to find a way to turn this into reality. So what I'm trying to do, the charity itself, is a charity to help all charities. It's a charity based on 3 principles: systematic giving, choice, and privacy. There are charities currently that are based, that do each of these things individually pretty well. There's the United Way, which does a really good job of systematic giving. The issue that a lot of people have with them is the fact that they don't have control over exactly where their money is going. They can't give money directly to the cause that means the most to them, whether that be their church, whether that be their, whatever cause it is that directly affects and moves them. So, and what I'm proposing is a charity that works with every employer and takes a payroll deduction so that, people don't see the money coming into their pocket. It goes directly to Charity Pie, and then Charity Pie will direct that money to whatever charities that mean something to that individual. So that way you get systematic giving, because I believe that everybody feels that it's harder to give once the money's already in your pocket. It just is. So if you can have that money come out systematically, then it's there for you to individually give it to whatever cause that makes the most sense to you. So you can give it to whatever 501c3 company or nonprofit you want to. And the last piece that I think is very important when you're dealing with employers is they can know how much you're giving, and they can make it a policy among a company, but they shouldn't have, I don't believe that they have a right to know exactly what charities you're supporting. Because it can affect, if they want to support things that maybe the owner of the company doesn't support, then that can have consequences. So if you have a charity that is based on systematic giving, that's based on choice, so you can give to whatever charity you want, and that's based on privacy, if you have those 3 elements, I think that we can do a lot of good. So again, what I'm asking for is help. Help with designing websites, help with setting up myself as a nonprofit organization, and help once we get that set up, to bring this to your employees and to participate and to really help me help you change the world. Thanks.
Thank you, Tom. We'll take another minute of quiet for Tom's evaluator to complete their evaluation, and we'll be right back.
I'd like to begin tonight with a little joke. This guy, he's a farmer, and he says, "Hey, hello, sorry." But seriously, folks.
Speaking in public is no joke.
Farmer says, doctor says, chicken says...
For help, call Toastmasters, the public speaking support group.
The chicken.
Welcome back. We are going to hear from our third speaker at our meeting this morning. We will be hearing from Veronica Sanford. Veronica has her Advanced Communicator Silver and her Advanced Leader Bronze. She's going to be giving a speech from the manual addressing the entertaining speaker. Veronica's speech title, first of all, before I give you the speech title, her speech is going to be 5 to 7 minutes, and her speech title is Why Multi-Level Marketing? Help me welcome Veronica Sanford.
It is the first project. If you look at the news, you often hear of mass layoffs. You can also hear that between 60 to 80% of employees are unhappy in their jobs and would jump at a chance to move to another company. Many people, if they're not unemployed, then they are underemployed. They're not living up to their full potential. I would like to propose an option. I have 10 points as to why someone would want to do multi-level marketing. I'm not trying to sell, just inform. Perhaps someone would want to earn extra money on the side, just in case that layoff does actually occur. They could have something in the bank. Or, otherwise, save money for retirement, or to give money to their children for their education. Multi-level marketing could be known as either sales or customer acquisition. You're helping companies get customers for their products or services. For many, the income is unlimited. As much as you sell, that's how much commission you can make. Very often in our jobs, that's not true. You're stuck in a band, and unless you get promoted, then you wouldn't be able to move beyond that band. For many of us, our incomes have been capped due to the recession, and perhaps because of the changing world of economics and corporations and their stockholders perhaps wanting to draw some of the profits back into the stockholders. For many multi-level marketing businesses, it's a willable business. So therefore, the money that you make and the customers that you acquire, those can actually be willed to your children or to a charity. We can't say that for our regular jobs. The money that we earn today in our regular jobs goes in our pocket, but there's no future income for that. Unless we work, we don't get paid. Multi-level marketing gives you an opportunity to develop a team. Because it is multi-level, you have yourself, and then if you bring on 2 business partners, they would be, quote unquote, underneath you, and there's an advantage to actually developing that team. That team, the profits that they make, you would then get a percentage of that. So there's only advantage for you helping out your team develop their sales ability. Now often, in the corporate world, not always, but sometimes, your employer actually can be jealous of you or threatened by your advancement. Not so in multi-level marketing. They're only going to be advanced by your advancing in sales. Multi-level marketing gives you an opportunity to grow, perhaps in a way that you might not be able to do in the corporate world. Multi-level marketing, because it is purely sales-based, if people don't like you, they won't buy from you. What happens then is you have to become a person that people like. What a thought. Now, of course, there are advantages to being a person that people like in the corporate world, but it's rare that you would get training in that area as well. In multi-level marketing, you are solely responsible for your own income. Often, these companies don't have a quota, and therefore, if you don't make the sales, then you don't get the profit. But you don't get fired because it is your business. For me, multi-level marketing gives me an opportunity to stretch my boundaries, pushing myself beyond my introversion to come out and speak to people about the benefits of it. It also enables me to overcome my fear of approaching people on a business level, whereas before I only know them as friends. I've only known them as friends. So the 10 that I mentioned, it's self-directed, the income is unlimited, you're able to develop a team, you're able to advance others, which is charitable, you have your own self-development, you're solely responsible for the results, you're stretching your boundaries, you're overcoming fear, and I lost count there, but I know there were 10. I'm not that good with counting on my fingers. In conclusion, I will say we can always make more money, but can we make more time? Time will allow you, money will allow you to buy time. You can hire people to do the tasks that you don't like to do, so that you can spend time with your family, your friends, and doing the tasks that you enjoy. Multi-level marketing will allow you to do that, the freedom to do that. Mr. Toastmaster?
Thank you, Veronica. At this point, we'll take another moment of silence for Veronica's evaluator to complete their evaluation, and we'll be right back.
All the education in the world won't help you get ahead in life if you can't express your ideas effectively. Every day, competition for advancement gets tougher and tougher. You need an edge. A Toastmasters club can give you that edge. A low-cost learning experience for men and women. Toastmasters gives you the confidence to express your ideas to anyone. Get the Toastmasters edge.
Welcome back to our TV Toastmasters program. At this point, we're going to shift gears a little bit, and we're going to get into that portion of the Toastmasters meeting where we will hear evaluations of the speakers that we've heard this morning. We'll also get some additional feedback on other aspects of the meeting from our general evaluator, who will be taking control of the meeting, and she'll have a team of people that will be contributing to that evaluation portion. Toastmasters has the portion of its meeting where you're doing prepared speeches, you're doing things like Tabletopics to enhance your speaking skills, but we also get feedback at every meeting. We're told what we do well, then we're also given some insight into things that we might want to consider doing a little bit differently to help more effectively achieve the things we're trying to do with our communication. We'll also hear how well we've been using the word of the day, which is precognition. So that way I get to use the word of the day. Help me welcome our general evaluator who will be working with her team and introducing each one of them to us. Sheila Mudbaker, our general evaluator.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. The general evaluator has a general set of duties. That is to introduce those people who are evaluating the various speakers and those people who are giving reports, such as word of the day, grammarian, timing, and to give an overall evaluation of the meeting as well as to give some specific feedback to the evaluators. Now that I've said all of that, I'm going to introduce to you the first evaluator of the day. The evaluator for Susan is Rick Davis. And Rick Davis, please come up and wow us.
Thank you, Sheila. Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, and especially Susan. I think the icebreaker is one of the most interesting speeches that anyone can give. We, as an experienced Toastmaster, we all look forward to hearing icebreakers because it gives you an opportunity to learn a little bit about the person. The objective of the icebreaker is to begin speaking before an audience and to discover speaking skills that you already have or may need some attention. And I think the strong points you have is you're very self-confident. At this point in your life and your career, you really exude self-confidence. You look very professional. We got to know you. We got to know your professional life and your personal life. You didn't appear nervous at all, which was great. You spoke very clearly and nice and loud. Your speech consisted of an opening, a middle, and an ending. You gave us sort of a timeline of your life and what sorts of things have affected you along the way. You didn't use your notes, or you may have just glanced down at them, but it didn't appear like you were reading your speech or anything like that. My suggestion would be that you cut out some of the detail that you sort of get bogged down, or we get bogged down trying to remember different parts of it. So if you sort of find a happy medium there, I think that would be great. But I really enjoyed your speech, and I'm looking forward to hearing future speeches from you, and sign up for number 2. Madam General Evaluator.
The second evaluator is the evaluator for Tom. It's me! Yay! I get to do an evaluation. I am excited because this is the first time I've heard Tom speak. I don't know where I've been, but I've missed Tom. I know this is Tom's first official speech as a member of this Toastmasters group. Tom had speech number 9, which was to persuade with power, and it came from the Competent Communicator book. And in this book, it says that Tom's role was to persuade listeners to adopt his viewpoints or ideas to take some action. And let me tell you that Tom had an action for us. He asked for our help to help develop his organization that would be giving money out. He appealed to the audience's interest. He mentioned 3 things that he thought would make this interesting to anybody who heard it. It would be an organization that would allow systematic giving, because most of us don't have a lot of money on a big basis. Like someone asks for $1,000, it seems impossible. But if they asked for so much money every 2 weeks, it doesn't seem so bad. Choice. A lot of us feel we don't get enough choice. I personally think we get too much choice. But none of us feel that we don't have enough choice in life, and especially when it comes to choosing organizations to which to donate. And the third one is privacy. For anyone who is an employee of an organization that has organized contributions every year, most employees feel that their supervisors or their managers or some way know what they're giving. In big organizations, they probably don't, but in small organizations, they might. So he set up the organization and he set up the interest all at the same time by listing those 3 things. Then he showed us how each of those things would be reached. The systematic giving was working with employers for pre-tax donations, choosing is a choice. Any 501c3, which if you don't know is a specific kind of IRS tax code for nonprofit organizations. Choose anyone you want. And the third is to give privacy to the employee. So he was giving us both an organized body for our speech and also was appealing to our audience. One of the things that Tom was asked to do was to give logic and emotion, which is hard to do the two, to support his position. I certainly saw the logic, and I'm going to make a recommendation on the emotion. And this is the vocal variety issue. It's not that you didn't have emotion, it's just that I wasn't seeing it as an audience member. I wasn't seeing your passion for this. I wasn't seeing you getting excited about it. Wasn't seeing that. And that can be done with simply working on vocal variety so that people can both hear and see at the same time. You were a little nervous at the beginning. You literally put your hands in front of you, put your hands behind you, and then finally went like this. But once you relaxed, you used your hands very, very well. So working on your first few movements of hands would help you a lot so that it would establish you as being careful and knowing about what you're talking about. I would like to see in this speech, which I think you're probably going to be giving many times in various ways, I would like to see you establish yourself as a credible source of information. Any of us could have stood up and said, I want to do this. So the question is from the audience that's out there, who are you in terms of why are you doing this? Who are you? Like, have you worked with a charity? Do you give money to charity? There's some reason why you're doing it, or you just saw it on the internet this morning. They want to feel somehow that you have a reason, and they should pay attention because you studied the subject, or you've worked on it, or something that would make them say, "Oh, I got it. Okay, I got it. This is what I'd do if it was me." Because people always want to know that it's someone who'd do something that they might want to do. Overall, a nice speech. I am looking forward to talking to you further about this particular topic because I have lots of ideas, as usual, about this. And I'm looking forward to the next speech because what a fascinating topic this time. Thank you. Our third speaker today was Veronica Sanford, and I'm also doing Veronica's. So my life is that right? No, I'm not. I am so excited. So can we start again? Could I do we're going to edit that out, so I'm going to start again. And our third evaluator of the day. Okay. Good, I did.
I'll pause before you begin, and now begin.
Thank you. Our third speaker of the day was Veronica, and Veronica is to be evaluated by Susan. Please welcome Susan.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Veronica, I really enjoyed your speech today. And it's the first speech in what book? I'm not remembering.
Entertaining Speaker.
Entertaining Speaker. Well, I have to admit that aside from the speech itself, the fact that you were serving as grammarian and our counter today and wrote a speech while you were here, I'd say I could not give any criticism whatsoever because I was very impressed by that, and I'm hoping that I get to a point where I can do that as well. But the questions that are here in this book for evaluating it, this is my first time evaluating, so I want to stick with the outline as closely as I can. I thought the audience showed that they were listening very intently, so that would be one indication that the audience was very much entertained by why multi-level marketing. Secondly, I loved that you used the 10 different points showing that multi-level marketing was self-directed, that it involved team building, and unfortunately I don't remember all the other points, but I really like the idea of multi-level marketing, and I'm sure that we could learn a lot more about that from you as well. You also used some great stories about things that we could do with that additional income, such as hiring out jobs around the house that we didn't want to do ourselves. And I like that aspect of it as well. Your conclusion was very strong because you restated the 10 points that you had made throughout your speech. And I really enjoyed that. I think that the speech was very well organized. I thought you used very good hand gestures and also made very good eye contact with the audience. And I don't recall whether you used the word precognitive, but I'm positive you probably did.
Thank you, Susan. We have some reports to give, and I'm going to start with the grammarian all-counter word of the day person. She handles everything. That is Veronica Sanford. Please welcome her.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Our word of the day today was precognition. The people that used the word of the day were Steve Ahrenholz twice, Sheila Medbaker twice, Carol Cormelink at least once, and Susan Russell twice. Steve, as Toastmaster, I heard no lip smacks, no ahs, no ums, no unnecessary and so's, and no you knows. However, let's up the bar a little bit for Steve. You used a word, things. Now the word things is a very general word that could be substituted for something more specific and more powerful. Now I would say, when you say doing things, instead you could say doing activities, studying, working out. I'm not sure what doing things could be, but think about it. Now, I will circle back to others as well. Tabletopics. Sheila Medbaker, excellent. I heard a little bit of a double clutch, and also many of us have things. It's a big group. Patty Raggett, that was a phenomenal story. That was a wow story. I will say that I think you're one of the most powerful speakers. I'm very impressed. That was an incredible story. That said, I counted 6 ums, ahs, 2 and so's, 3 lip smacks, and a little bit of a double clutch, which is a not give but kind of a correction word. Those are small in comparison to the power of your speech. Rick Davis, I believe you had 7 ums, ahs, and that's something that, if you think of breathing instead, it doesn't have to be that dramatic, but you could work on that. That perhaps is your number one issue. Also, you had a little bit of a double clutch if you had used that twice. And then great things. You had also used the word things. Carol Cormelink, I thought I heard one things may have happened in your language, but no ands, ums, ahs, so's. Susan Russell, this is your first speech. And learning to breathe instead of using filler words, especially if you can do it dramatically, to slow your pace and to pause, it helps. I was a big and so person, and you had 5 ahs, 1 little bit of a lip smack, which is, that's a lip smack, excuse me, I got myself down for that one, and also a little bit of a speak, kind of a double clutch. Tom Meyers, I heard, now I will say, you were speaking from the heart, and when we're speaking from the heart, and we're passionate about what we're saying, very often we are a little bit more hesitant because we're vulnerable. So that's one for me. Take this with just to know that you're working on this. And I counted 11 ums, 8, and so you knows. A lot of you knows for you. So you might want to work on you know first and eliminating you know. I believe I had a little subtle lip smack, and thank you, Carol, for recording from my time. Sheila, as a general evaluator, I caught 1 Rick Davis, as an evaluator, I caught 7 ums. Sheila Baker, 2, again, as an evaluator, and Susan, just 1 That's it. Thank you so much. That's the end of my dissertation.
Thank you. I would like to say that overall we did very well. I'd like to give special thanks to Bev, who's on camera number 1, who set up this place. For the most part, when we came in, everything was all set up. We were pretty much ready. So thank you, everybody who was here today. That's great, and please welcome back our Toastmaster.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Well, one of my roles as Toastmaster, not one of my things, but one of my roles as Toastmaster is to keep the meeting moving. And we are running down to the very last minutes of our time allocation for today's program. Without further ado, I'm going to return it back to our club president, Rick Davis.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you to the speakers. Thank you to the evaluators. Thank you to everyone. Thank you, Veronica, for filling in for everybody else that wasn't here today. And I would like to close the meeting.